Amazing, amazing, amazing. They say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. From where you are watching us from, I mean, it's been quite a day over here, but I just want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board. We are trying to see whether we can be able to escalate this conversation, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone that came on board for the launch of the building test. Something that has been really in my heart for a long time, and especially that we have been able to have conversations with many people who have asked us questions and how they can get the books. But especially let me thank you that made time to come to Chester House on the 30th of January. We had an amazing time and we really appreciate your support. And for some of you who are not aware, I did a book that is called The Building Test. And it's really a book for leaders. So long as you are leading anybody in any space, whether it's in the corporate world, church segment, it's something that you want to put your hands on and be able to use the strategies that have been laid down. I'm going to grab a copy. I'll be reading something for you as you get hold of someone. Share this link to someone. Of course, all the details are over there. You can send a WhatsApp message, and we are going to be sharing something a bit on what I'm calling strategic offloading. But above all, let me share with you the book. This is the book, but you can see the dummy book behind me here. But Building Test is really a roadmap. It's a roadmap for you to navigate complexities of leadership. And it is a book that is meant to empower, foster, and drive positive change when we're coming to the teams that we are leading. You realize that effective leadership is not just a luxury, it is a necessity. And it is something that people need. We live in a world that is hungry for leadership. And many organizations right now are struggling to be able to get hold of a kind of a person who will be able to inspire their team. And I began to ask some of these questions like this. What if leadership was not about power, but it was about empowerment? What if it wasn't about control, but it was about collaboration? What if leadership is not about you holding the position, but about the people you are serving? So the gap between strong leaders and the reality and deficits in terms of leadership is widening. And now this book is the blessing that we can be able to lay our hands on, and it's something that will change our perspective and view of where we are in terms of leadership. And my view is that we must separate management and leadership. Separating does not mean that we can't work in tandem, but we must be able to understand what management does, but also what leadership does. My name is Sened, and I'm privileged to be the one that has put down these things. I pray that you can be able to leave a comment for me. I'll be checking that in a minute, and so that we can be able to take the shortest time possible and look into a strategic offloading. Strategic offloading. I want to check and see who is with us tonight in a few minutes. Please be able to share where you're watching us from and what has been able to bless you, especially for those who had the opportunity to be able to go through the book earlier. And it will be an amazing, amazing thing that we can be able to read those comments later. But let me go straight into what I wanted to maybe share with you today, and it's strategic offloading. Strategic offloading is intentionally and thoughtfully transferring tasks. It is important for us to understand that you can offload, but you can do that offloading strategically. It means two different things. One of these is what we call dumping. You are carrying things and you are sending them off to people and just dumping on people because it's less of importance to you. But when we come to strategic offloading, it is actually a way to free up yourself for strategic work. It is a way to foster and empower people so that they can be able to do what you are doing. If I may put it like this, there is a way you can strategically offload some things that will be able to create an element of ownership to the people you are leading. And they can be able to take responsibility of what was supposed to be done. In this case, people are able to come up with solutions more than they can be able to transfer what is not working. Because of ownership, they are able to come up with solutions. But also, strategic offloading is an element of strategy that helps people to be able to transfer and multiply impact. As a leader, you have to desire that people can become like you or do better than you. And so one way to be able to push people to actually to be better is if you can strategically offload to them. And one of the ways of achieving the strategic offloading is if you can be able to set a frame. Setting a frame is something that you may also call opening a conversation. And sometimes you can ask your team, what do you guys think about this? Or I have this alternative, what is your opinion on it? And this will be able to push your team into a space where they can be able to take in the pressure and be able to handle that which was a problem. And oftentimes something I've learned as a leader is that your team cannot share the pressure if you are unwilling to take and give credit. And when you begin to scope and score when it comes to leadership, you have to learn to be able to give credit when work is done well. But also learn to take the blame when something is not working. When things are working, you give credit to your team. When things are not working, you take responsibility as a leader. Now remember, I began by saying this. We must begin to separate where management and leadership becomes effective. So management, in my opinion, is a language that works well with programs and structures. Management to me sounds like a status quo. I am given to look at something and I'll be able to present it the way I was given. But when we come to leaders and leadership, it is a whole different conversation. We are supposed to nurture and enhance when we begin to talk about leadership. So a man can be a manager, but he must grow to become a leader. Meaning that the greater scope of leading men is moving from managing programs and things to a place where we can be able to enhance men. Men can be able to become. And that changes all the game. In that place, you can be able to strategically delegate, strategically offload, because strategic offloading is another word we use for delegation. It is important to realize that delegation is not just offloading tasks. It is actually a tool that we can be able to use to empower our teams, foster growth, free up our time to be able to do strategic initiatives. And I usually say, for me, whenever I have the opportunity to lead in some spaces, I usually say this. If you want to give a report, you can do that on email. You can do that on WhatsApp. I mean, it's something I need to go through of what you did. But then when it comes to ideas and innovation, and we are thinking forward, we can be able to sit down and spend time and talk about and just have a think tank towards that which will be able and to be able to be achieved. So this book really encourages us to be able to do a few things. And I'm going to just read for you 4 things, and then we can be able to begin an interaction. Of course, the books are available. The till number, the phone number is over there. You can be able to just text on WhatsApp and pay for it, and it can be able to be delivered. Part of the things that we can be able to strategically offload and we can consider is things that are repetitive. I say here, tasks that are performed regularly and have an established procedure become candidates for delegation. For the guys who love AI and the technological advancements conversation, those are things that are subject to be automated. And in that sense, we can be able to delegate that. The most interesting thing is, right now we can be able to have a conversation whether we are delegating to a person or an AI agent, depending on what task we are handling. So we must be able to know that this will be able to free us up to be able to handle and focus on more complex issues. Number 2, the other thing that is supposed to be delegated is things that you can be able to look at your team and realize that I have the skill set that is needed to be able to handle this work. The danger of delegating work that you don't have the skill set, it would mean you would still like micromanage someone that you have handed over the responsibility to. So look at things that have become repetitive, but also look at the things that you have the skill set around you to be able to handle. Then the other thing that we can be able to look at is there are tasks that are time consuming, but they're not critical at the moment. Time consuming, but not critical at the moment. And in this space, we are able to free this time to be able to handle more urgent realities and things that are within our scope. The last thing when we are considering is developmental opportunities. Consider tasks that help your team members to be able to grow their skills and become. So sometimes we are not delegating because we don't have time to do it, but we are delegating because we realize that if I can be able to hand over this task to someone, it will actually help them to develop and become. So we consider things that are repetitive, we consider things that we have the skill set around us, but also we consider things that are more of a developmental opportunity for people, but also we delegate things that have become to us time consuming, but are not very, very critical. What I was handling in this space was the language of building effective delegation techniques. I mean, you would say, me, I don't have that problem. But oftentimes, as you begin to journey and you begin to look into the scope of these things, you realize that as your team is growing and as your ministry is growing, as your company is growing, there are things that you will need to delegate so that you can be able to do more important things, if I may say something like that. Let me know what is coming your way, what you are picking up on the comment sections, and we will be able also to just understand. We can be able to respond to a few questions that you are sending on our WhatsApp, and it's just amazing to know. I can see Evangelist Stampede, and I can also see Blessed Nancy. Thank you very much for sending in your support. And it's just an amazing thing that we are able to just empower our teams to continually become. One of the greatest things I have also been able to learn as a leader, even as we continue to have this conversation on the building test, is this. As a leader, you are very responsible on building the rhythm. So if your people are dancing offbeat, don't blame them. It is squarely a leader's responsibility to be able to set the rhythm so that people are in tandem with what is happening. So that people are in tandem with what is happening. So that people are in sync with that which must be able to be done. When we talk about vision and leadership, there is something also I call, people will have something that I call a buy-in to something. So if you are delegating effectively, you are actually able to get people to a space where they can buy in to what you are doing. What may seem to be an opportunity for people to grow is actually an opportunity for people to buy in to the cause. And so the building test is really a roadmap, is a framework of great complexities. And it's interesting just to be able to know that something good is already happening. I'm going to check on a few of us that are online and just loving the conversation that is ongoing. And maybe we check on a few questions, but just send in your comments and also send in your orders. The books are available. They can be delivered to you wherever you be in the country. I don't know whether let me see if Steve, you can see some few questions over there. Please send them to me. We can be able to do that and respond to them in any moment. Your Blessed Nancy is saying you must be able to transfer and multiply impact. The key in becoming a leader, is not doing all the work. The key in becoming a leader is actually producing people who can do what you can be able to do. I work on this principle. The principle is work towards irrelevance as a leader. If the scope of your network is going to grow, if the scope of your responsibility is going to increase, make sure that you are working towards being irrelevant in the scope of what you are doing. This helps us to be able to find something more complex to be able to do. And I just encourage all of us to be able to do that. And we trust God that He is able to bring us to a space where we can be able to do more work. We can be able to empower more people. And it is amazing what we can be able to do. Someone is saying, what else have you written in the book? Okay, I'm going to take time, the last like 5 minutes or so, to be able just to share with you part of the things we have been able to write. The first one, even as we continue to, the first one is the one that we have talked about. We have talked about building effective delegation techniques, because it's important. The second thing that we wrote in this book is building clear expectations and support. Let me just mention something little over there. Sometimes as a leader, I can communicate expectation, but I don't lay a proper framework for my team to get the support needed to be able to achieve the results of the expectation that we have been able to put in place. So it is important, even as a leader, it is very, very important even as a leader to be able to build clear expectations and support for your team. In number 3, we talk about building an engaging and high-performing work environment. I don't have time to be able to dive into all that, but let me pause and throw this one to you. Have you ever dealt with a creative? I know Steve is not going to look at me very well at this point, but have you ever been with a creative? They have helped you do some work, but you keep pushing them, you keep pushing them, you keep pushing them, and they're not even delivering. So if you begin to understand how the psychology of creatives work, you can be able to help them have an environment that can actually produce and meet targets. Otherwise, pressure with creatives is not something that works. So we are talking about building an engaging, high-performing work environment. But number 4, which is part of my favorite, we are talking about building constructive disagreement skills. This is an analogy, and some people would, if someone did something that we may consider foolish, we can say to that person, you are a fool, or we can say to that person, whatever you did was unwise. In both cases, we have communicated the same thing. But one seems to me like a condemnation that that person will never amount to anything. The other one seems like this particular, the other one sounds more objective. It is the thing that you did that I don't consider wise. So there is how we can disagree constructively and be able still to foster our team going forward. Number 5, we talk about building self-reflection and development. I believe as a team member, you don't have anything to contribute to the team if you are not growing yourself. And it is very, very critical to understand the collective developmental formations of a team, of an individual, contribute largely to a team becoming. And so it is very, very important to be able to empower our teams and be able to empower individuals, that in overall, that is the thing that adds to the teams that we are talking about. But also in chapter number 6, we talk about building a mentorship and coaching culture. Largely, and I'm very big on this, that is why I said I work towards irrelevance. I want to hand over quickly that which I'm doing so that I can find something else to do. And this has been a very big backbone in whatever we have been able to contribute towards the kingdom and corporate engagements. It is very, very important to be able to mentor. I mean, the Bible becomes my reference point. Of course, it's because of that is of my faith. But one of the things I love that Jesus did is the day he's exiting, he hands over the responsibility of ministry to people he raised. In that place, they were able to pass on the culture. And as much as they say Hitler had 6 million followers, Jesus had 12. But we talk about Jesus more than Hitler because they were able men coached and mentored. The other one that we talk about, even as I conclude the things we have written here, is building work-life balance strategies. This one is a big one. I'm somewhere there, but I'm not yet there concerning this one. Because, again, it is something that you journey with continually. Especially right now where the dynamics of whatever responsibilities we are doing changes left, right, and center. And the dynamics of working hours but find a working way. I tell people, learn on principle, agree on how you are going to be able to balance that. The other one is building change leadership strategies. This is where I was talking about. As a leader, you have to build the rhythm. You have to set the rhythm. You have to set the rhythm. When another leader comes in, he might probably achieve the same result but using a different rhythm. So it is very, very important that your team is not caught up in different rhythms so that they don't end up in a place where. And lastly, number 9, we talk about building opportunities for leading diverse teams. My background, especially when I've been able to train technical guys, media guys, and from all those spaces, I have had the ability to be able to understand on how to be able to pass on responsibilities on different teams, of course. And then the last one that we are talking about in this book is building ethical leadership. I read something that challenged me, and I will read this quote for us. Then we are gonna make some responses on that which you are continuing to post for us over here. Management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Management is the efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. But leadership is what determines whether the ladder you are using to climb the ladder of success is actually leaning at a wall that is stable. My encouragement to all of us is that building ethical leadership is work. And it is something that is needed because somebody said to me some time back that one day my son will be told, "You look like your father." It is for me to decide whether that will come out as a blessing or that will turn out to be a curse. And the greater question that I keep asking myself, and maybe it's a question I can throw to you to be able to ask, is this one. What are you building? How stable is the thing that you are building? Hear me, friends. No matter what we are building, the test of what we have built will one day show up. The legacy that we are building will be tested upon which foundation it was actually cemented and founded. The name that you are building will actually be tested generations after you. Did you or will you have built a name that will come to your children as a blessing? Will you build an organization that when it remains behind, it will be blessing to generations after you are already gone? Really, the secret is in how we are going to build this foundation. So I just wanted to drop by tonight and encourage us to be able to consider what we are building, because this for me is a building test. It is a framework. It's an opportunity to be able to look back and just reconsider and be able to refocus a few things and be able just to reflect on what has been your contribution towards your family, yourself as a person. There's something I call insurrection, the resurrecting the inside. How are you investing in yourself to build something in your life that will be a blessing to others? And I don't know majorly, this is what is able to translate to society. It is what is able to affect the people you are working with, the people you are leading. The insufficiency of a man as a leader will always be able to be transferred to the team they are leading. And when your people look at you, do they see a person who can actually offer solution? Maybe I will put a comma here. But let me say this. Someone said, if you are a commander and your team does not bring to you issues, there are two possibilities in that case. It's either you are already fired or they have appointed themselves someone else. It is important to be able to test that which we are building, to be able to be sure that we are actually building the right thing. Consider to offload, not because you are dumping on men. Consider to offload because you are actually desiring to see other people become better than you. I usually make this as a joke, but it's never really a joke. It is something that you might want to think about. Men should be paid not because of what they do, but because of who they produce. I'm pausing so that you can be able to reflect a bit on that which we have just said. I think that the system that rewards men in compensation should not just reward men because of what they do, but because of who they produce. And in the coming days, even as you look back, the question would be, whom did I produce? This is the building test. It's a framework. It's a roadmap. It's something that will be able to challenge us to be better and better leaders. Thank you. I see Shadrach over here. Shadrach is saying responsibility is given to a man who is able to see. It is true. And maybe if I can add something over there, if you can see something other people cannot see, it should actually tell you that you can be able to have something people can't have. If you can see what other people can't see, it means that you can have what it may seem impossible for others to have. It is very, very critical for us to be able to understand that. Our advantage is sight. Our advantage is sight. If we can see it, we can have it. George Baraka, I see you. Thank you, sir, for joining. I see my wife over here. Thank you for joining in. I see you in a few. I'm also seeing Steve Kilonzo. He's watching from Karen. And also I see Viola and Desia. Blessed Nancy is saying, your team cannot share the pressure if you are unwilling to give credit. Yes. Share the credit and take the responsibility for failure. If your team does well as a leader, give them the credit. It shows that you are taking responsibility. Let me see if we can see someone else on the YouTube, and then we can begin to close. Thank you very much for those of you who have taken time to join. Amazing. I know this will be able to be available on the online. Please make sure that if you don't have a book, you can be able to grab a copy for yourself or grab it for your neighbor. We celebrate each one of you that is continually sending their messages over here. We are blessed to be able to hear from you, and it is really an encouragement. I only have 7 minutes to be out of your way, but let me conclude by saying this. And even as you make sure, as you send your support for the book, as you send your buy-in for the book, make sure that you send us your details on the number over there on WhatsApp so that we can be able to know where to post it or to be able to send it. Yeah, I was looking for something over here. And so, ultimately, the most important thing is to be able to learn that which is urgent and that which is important. The secret that is hidden in delegation is to be able to understand that which is urgent and that which is important. And we can be able to achieve by empowering our teams the element of delegation. Someone said to me, even as I close, but I will allow you a few minutes also if you are sending in your comments and messages. Yes, I see some people over here. But someone said to me, life is about the impact you bring, the value you contribute, and the quality of service you offer. Life is about the impact you bring, the value you contribute, and the quality of service you offer. We would love to be, some of us would love to be remembered because of the impact that we made, the men that we were able to empower. And even as we continue to build PROUFALME Africa, our greater responsibilities is to build men, executives who fear God, but executives who carry solutions to the world. Part of what we are doing with this book is that we are training teams. Whether you are running a business and you have a team of people you are leading, whether it is a church setup, or whether it is just a team that you are leading within a certain sphere, we can be able to come on board and take you through the 10 sessions, and I know that will be able to change the team dynamics for good. And so feel free to call, feel free to text on WhatsApp on the same number, but also feel free to share us or your email with us, but also you can check us on www.profalme.org. The email is profalmeafrica@gmail.com. The number over there is 0714-332-117. The till number for those who are paying for the book is 5292-311. 5292-311. Please make sure if you pay or if you're sending something small for the support and printing of the books, make sure you are able to send us your details so that we are able to send you. Let me close by saying this. Leadership at this hour is a necessity, and effective leadership for that matter. I pray for all of us that we can be able to take the challenge and influence that one person next to us and influence that person that we are leading so that they can be able to make impact. Empower the teams you are leading, foster their growth, see them become, that we can be able to enter a space where we are driving change around us. And that is my time for tonight. My name is Sened. I'm the founder at PROUFALME Africa. I've authored the building test, but also I've authored another book that is called Chapters. And I know that whichever sphere that we meet in the coming days, we can be able to continue the engagement. We desire that we can be able to launch a podcast on the same. And in the coming days, if it's something you would love to be part of, please make sure that you also let us know. For now, that was my time. And see you on the next building test, on the next conversation, so that we can build people who are able to drive and move our societies forward. Thank you for everyone who found time from across the globe, whether it is evening, morning, or whatever time you are watching, and even those who will watch later. Bye-bye for now. Love you guys, and thank you for tuning in. I hope this was worthwhile. Thank you.